Hello, world. Greetings from Louisiana in the United States of America, North America, and to a European island, England, to Harry, the beer guy. Hello, Harry.
Hi all.
Now, Harry, what part of England are you from?
I'm from Birmingham, so right in the centre.
Oh, right. Now, this Burton-on-Trent is not terribly far from you, right?
I in fact work in Burton. It's about a 25-minute drive away from where I live, so pretty close.
Very famous brewing location, right?
Oh, still now, I mean, at one point there must have been about 130 odd breweries there, and nowadays we've probably only got, well, about 20, 30, but it's still quite a lot in quite a small town.
Yeah, that's neat. And also, heavy metal music basically originated in Birmingham.
Yeah, of course. Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sort of on accident. A jazz band
Mm.
that said, "Well, let's try this." Okay, now this beer, Bass Pale Ale, or you call it, they're calling it
Trademark #1.
Trademark #1, was introduced way back in 1777 by William Bass, and this beer, they say at one time was the most popular beer in England. It's gone through so many ownership changes, but currently it's owned by Anheuser-Busch InBev, although I believe in Great Britain, Molson Coors handles the brewing. Some kind of a dispute with the British government over monopoly considerations or something like that.
So it says on my bottle here, Bass Ale brewed and distributed in the UK by InBev. It's InBev here as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, here it says brewed by William Bass and Company, Baldwinsville, New York. In other words, brewed by the Anheuser-Busch Brewery in Baldwinsville, New York. It says the world's first pale ale, originally brewed in 1777 by William Bass Breweries Limited, Burton-on-Trent, England. This fine pale ale has been brewed in the Great British tradition, using the finest two-row malted barley. Now, there's a website that Anheuser-Busch puts out called Tap Into Your Beer. So I'm looking on Tap Into Your Beer, and it says ingredients: water, barley malt, corn, hops, and yeast. 5.1% alcohol, 156 calories. This is a 12-ounce bottle, 335 milliliters. 355 milliliters. What do you?
Mine's 500 ml. Big bottle.
Oh, you have a big bottle. We only get, to my knowledge, we only get these 12-ounce or 355 milliliter bottles.
Oh, right.
What is the ABV on your version?
It's 4.4%.
Wow, and we have 5.1. So we're not exactly looking at the same beer, are we?
It's marginally different, yeah. I mean, from what I've read, it's the same pale ale, same recipe, just different ABV.
You think that ABV is being done because of sort of the high taxes in England for the beers that are above 4.0?
I'm not overly sure, to be honest. I think, from what I know, is this beer is definitely not the same as what it would have been 20 years ago. Because my dad always goes on about this beer and how much he used to love this beer, and he tries it now, and he says it's not the same at all. So I think it has differed slightly. You might be getting a slightly different drink. You might be getting the original Bass. I don't know. But yeah, we'll see.
I have drank it, I believe, back to possibly 1996, and I don't recall any variation in flavor. Now, where it was brewed in 96, I don't know, but I believe almost certainly that it was an import until around 3 years ago.
It was probably more than likely brewed back then, still in Burton. I can't remember when it changed from being brewed in Burton. It's not brewed in Burton at all now. It's brewed somewhere down south. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's most of InBev is produced somewhere near Luton. I might be right, which is towards London. I think that's where it would all be brewed now.
What happened was when InBev bought Anheuser-Busch in 2008, they slowly started to consolidate and to try to save money, and so they began to brew many foreign beers in the U.S., obviously according to the original recipe, but there's a few reasons. It's fresher, and you don't have to pay the shipping fees, you know. Now, corn, over there you would say maize, right?
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
Is it showing the same ingredients on the bottle, or does the bottle even...
It doesn't show ingredients here, no. No, not one bit.
One thing I'd be very curious about, does that bottle indicate any website? Because I cannot find any website aside from Anheuser-Busch InBev.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't suggest any website at all. So obviously, it's saying Bass Ale brewed and distributed in the UK by InBev. So you'd probably just go and look on that website. But
yeah, and I was looking on the InBev website, and they've changed it. Years ago, or just a year ago, they would list hundreds of beers that they would produce around the world, and they would give you a link or show you what country. And now they've cut back, and they only show about 20 mainline beers that they make. But it could be possibly, literally, 1,000 different beer brands that company produces, but it was in the hundreds. But if you look on the website now, they give you almost no information. It's sad because it was so interesting in the past. But nonetheless, you ready to dig into it?
Yep, absolutely.
I presume you've had this before.
Quite a few times.
And your father, of course. Okay. Now, over here, for a little while, they were making a beer called Bass Stout.
Yes, I've heard about this.
It was in a mix pack. You had 6 stouts. I'm sorry, 3 stouts and 3 pale ales, and they had a little instruction on the back, and it would show you how you were supposed to mix it. It was made, you would pour it over a spoon, and it was this where you could make a black and tan. But it didn't last long. I drank the stout straight. I did a video on it. It was good, but it's gone now. I guess they just tried it out, see what people would think about it.
Oh, okay.
And they also made one called Bass India Pale Ale, which was on a green label. That was extremely good. I thought it was more authentic English pale ale, but I noticed now it's gone.
Yeah, I've read about the Bass IPA, and you can't. At one point, you could get it over here as well, but can't anymore at all. I mean, you find this in most supermarkets. It's not that expensive as well, and we get it on can as well.
We get Bass in a few beer shops, but it's not exactly widespread over here, I have to tell you.
Okay.
People are aware of it. I remember 20 years ago when Bass was, in America, considered one of the elite beers that you would try to get your hands on if you wanted to show people that you were drinking something better.
Mm.
Yeah, and then with the advent of the craft beer movement and maybe the craft snob subculture, you know, and not to mention the acquisition by a major corporation, then the perception of the beer changed, even though the product didn't really.
Mm.
At least.
I'd say your craft beer kind of revolution is at least 5 years ahead of ours.
Yeah. Probably.
We're lacking quite a lot at the moment.
I didn't get much head.
No, I probably only got half a finger's worth, and it's gone away pretty quickly.
Now, Can you hold on for a moment? I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure.
If I'm going to eat the soup, I really do need to sop up the residue with bread. So I wouldn't want viewers to think I would let soup residue remain in the bowl. Okay. It's got the appearance is not to me so much of a pale ale, more of a amber ale. If you want to be perfectly dishonest, it has some sediment. Not a lot, a little bit.
Yes, it does.
An amber ale, though. Yeah, give me what you're getting on the aroma. I'm going to say some things. It's kind of shocking me a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'm probably getting caramel, and it's quite sweet. Malty undertones. Like, well, I'm not going to say I know what I'm going to get, but I think I find it kind of difficult to review, to kind of talk about it when I've had it so many times. I know what flavors I'm going to get, but you can definitely get caramel, get some sweetness from that, getting a touch of biscuit, touch of barley. There's not an awful lot more I can say.
I'm getting a little bit of alcohol with this, believe it or not. It's almost even. I'm almost kind of reluctant to say it. Sometimes when I make videos, I'm scared to say certain things because I'm worried about how people will take it. I'm getting I'll say it, a Beck's Sapphire note. And Beck's Sapphire is a lager, but it has that alcohol-y thing. Little boozy, I don't know, that's weird. I know you're not getting that.
Not at all.
Little caramel, little sweetness. It's really odd. But anyway, nothing bad. Let's go with the flavor, I guess, Harry.
Yep. I say I'm getting quite strongly malty. I'm actually getting a weird touch of grass in there, just a touch of grassy hayiness.
Hay.
Yeah, grass and hay. I'm getting that. It's surprising. I'm finding it surprisingly crisp. And yeah, lightly bitter. It's quite lightly bitter. Still some sweetness in there though.
I'm getting. Now let's see. Mine was made on the 283rd day of 2014, so this one's got a little age on it.
I only say my best before is October 2015.
Oh yeah, yours is a lot fresher. I'm getting some maltiness, some caramel, some, in my case, noticeable bitterness at the end of the sip, even in the front of the sip. I would say it's bitter across the sip, and I find that the body is at least medium. I don't know what to make of it. It seems different. It seems different. Now, I have a friend. He only drinks light lagers, right? Like, you know people like this, I'm sure. He only drinks Miller Lite. He likes it. And if somebody tried to influence him to drink other beers, he'd go along with it. If they tried to dictate to him what to drink, he would just ignore it. But I bought a bottle of this for him. And I said, try it. And he told me later it was one of the best beers he's ever tried. That's not saying a whole lot.
Yeah.
Considering what he drinks. But then he could have come back with a bad report. But his report was glowing. So it was sort of an introduction to different flavors on his part. You know, to him it was, in his case, it was sort of exotic. maybe in your case, in my case, it's sort of pedestrian, but
I mean, around near me, obviously Burton being the local place, and this is Burton Bitter is bitter is just a standard beer which you get anywhere near me, and this is just what you'd find in any local pub. You just expect to get a beer with similar sort of flavours to this. It's just a pretty standard beer, really. But not to say I do like bitters of this type, but they are pretty basic in their flavours.
this would be considered an English bitter, huh?
Yes, I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah, and that style of beer, frankly, is a little bit rare in America. You know, we get Fuller's ESB.
Mm.
Very expensive here. I don't know about England, but Fuller's ESB is quite expensive. We get this Bass on occasion at a few places. You know, I can't really think of any American branded
Bitter.
bitter. Yeah, I mean, I really can't think of one. It's just not a style that's. I'm not saying people around here wouldn't like it, but it's certainly not a style that would be considered run-of-the-mill or common in America.
Mm.
I guess in England or Australia maybe, or other Commonwealth countries, maybe not Canada, but it might be considered common. I know in Australia, Victoria bitter is very common.
Yes, yeah. I mean, well, near me we've got I do notice Fuller's is quite expensive. We find I've got a Fuller's pub in Birmingham, and it's essentially it's London beers, London prices. It will be a good £1, £2 more than for a pint than you'd pay anywhere else. But then we've got Marston's, which is a massive brewery that's in Burton. I'm sure you have some Marston's beers possibly come over there. I don't know. Yeah, but I think Marston's produce a decent range of bitters, which is very common to find. And I think it's been a long-standing alternative to your mass-produced lagers, which people would normally find within bars. So people just choose the English bitter as an alternative.
As something a little more flavorful.
Mm.
And maybe with a little more body to it. Yeah.
A lot more flavor.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, now that I'm thinking about it, there's a beer we do a show. We have been doing a little examination show once a week on Wednesday nights, which would be very late at your time period, be after midnight. But we did a beer called Foster's Ale, which was originally called Foster's Bitter. Foster's Extra Bitter. I can't remember, but it's something Foster's Bitter. Now, that beer, we were really kind of struck by it because it had this similar profile, and it was also made with corn. And I would say that Foster's, today is called Foster's Premium Ale, would be very similar to this. Although it's a little stronger in alcohol. Foster's Premium is 5.5%.
Okay.
And it's very common. Foster's Ale today is very common in America, and it comes in a big, I don't know how big 25.4 ounces is. I guess 700 and something milliliter cans.
Okay. Is it, Foster's Extra, a pale lager? Am I right in thinking it's that one?
No. It's ale, a bitter.
Foster's Premium Ale.
See that big green can?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we don't get that here at all.
It's American made, just like this beer. You know, it's a recipe that's from Australia, just like this is a recipe from England, but it's brewed in America. So I wish you could try the Foster's Ale side by side with this and see what you would think about it. I wish I was trying them side by side right now just to kind of ruminate on it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to do a side by side probably with some of the Marston's beers. I think because they're well known over here for producing some, run of the mill bitters, I'd say. Run of the mill, they're nothing all too special, but you can find from many smaller breweries that I know of, they do some. For example, I think it's Axone Brewery. I think they've had one of the best bitters I've ever done. I think it's called Best Bitter from them. And even Burton Bridge Brewery, which is a very small brewery, they do a bitter. I can't remember the name of it now, but it's, well, as I say, very, very popular. And these are probably the lower end, but they're still of a decent standard, I'd say, in terms of the bitters.
Now, none of those beers that you mentioned have I ever tried, although they might be sold here. The ones that we get around here that are a little more common are, you familiar with Green King?
Yes, yep.
We get Old Speckled.
Yeah.
That's the most common one. And then there's a whole line of other ones. I guess Old Speckled Hen might be somewhere in this range of, or in this style, huh?
Yeah, I think it would fit in. I mean, yeah, Green King is pretty down south a little bit. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Old Speckled Hen would fit in the same kind. Old Speckled Hen, from what I rarely ever have it, but from what I remember, it's got a little bit less fizz in it. From what I've had, and over here it's sold in a clear bottle, so you can imagine all the things said about it. And it used to be sold in a brown bottle, but then they've changed it to clear bottle. I don't understand why.
No, me neither. I guess they wanted to make sure it got skunked.
Yeah.
We get those Green King beers, and now they seem to be a whole array. They have Golden Hen, Old Speckled Hen. What's the other one called? Like, it's a really strong, high alcohol version. Like a liquor called Angry Hen or something like that. There was one called Green King IPA, which was more like the Bass IPA, not an American IPA by any stretch. Well, really, you know, let's be honest, Harry. American IPAs and English IPAs are different beers, almost completely different styles. They don't have a whole lot in common, I find, in their flavor or aroma profile. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I couldn't make too much of a judgment. I haven't had too many American IPAs, to be honest. It's just a little bit too hard for me to come across them at the moment.
They are so hoppy. I'm starting to really have an issue with them because they taste like grapefruit mixed with pineapple juice, and they're so focused on the hop resin. You know, it's like they're unrefined, and I don't, you know what I mean? Like it's like a bull in a china shop. They have no balance to them. And then when I drank the English IPAs, like, okay, Samuel Smith's India Ale.
Yep.
Those beers can't, in most cases, now there's some exceptions, right? But in most cases, they can't hold a candle to a beer like Samuel Smith's India Ale, which it's a whole different world.
I mean, I think I did review one when I was with Stuart Pickard. We did the American IPAs. We did what's it, Raging Bitch, which is that Flying Dog, and the very high ABV.
I never had that, but I'm familiar with it.
That's probably about 8.5. Is it 8.6 on the ABV, something like that? And that's got so much. I find it's got pineapple, peaches, tropical flavors in it, and then it had extreme metallic. I'm finding metallic out of some of the IPAs I get. I don't know if you're noticing it.
I'm getting a little metallic on this. Now, I'm going to name a few, and you tell me. It's Abbott Ale.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of another one I had. John Smith's Ale. They don't sell that around here anymore. I caught a lot of flack for that beer. People got enraged that I actually drank it. They attacked Stuart and myself. They said, "You will not drink that beer." Stuart said, "I like it." "Oh, you're a fool, you moron. Everyone," what the guy say? "Everyone in England hates John Smith's Ale." Stuart said, "Well, how do they hate it? It's in all the taverns. If they hated it, it wouldn't sell. No one would buy it." But those were similar to this in a way. Like, they had their kind of I couldn't describe it correctly. I said it tasted like cellar mold.
Mm.
But I realized later it was the hops were so different than what I was used to. You know, my grandfather had this. It's still there too. It's in the ground. He had this cave. It's like a man-made cave dug in the ground, and they were going to hide in it during a nuclear war. But okay, that never happened. So, as we know, so he stored potatoes down in it because it was dark and kind of cool down in there and damp, and he would put potatoes. But when you would go down in there, it would smell moldy, like old mud and mold, and that's how the Abbott Ale tasted to me at first. And then I got used to it, and I realized that I wasn't perceiving it correctly, so I hurried up and made a follow-up video.
I think, not wanting to disrespect too many English beers, but there is, I can understand that smell that you're getting. I find that a lot of perhaps the lower end of the beer scale, because you'll find John Smith's over here is very, very cheap, and it's sold in massive multi-packs and extremely mass-produced. I can understand getting that smell and that flavour of slight mould and dampness. I think I would as well. It's for me, it's somewhat traditional pub smell around where I am. It smells a little bit like that, which isn't too great. But,
and you just never, ever get a beer in America that has that smell. That's why it was so strange, you know. Now this one, since it's made in America, in New York, by Anheuser-Busch, it's, you know, it has more of a Budweiser smell. Someone just slapped my face across the internet. Damn you for saying that. But I'm sorry, that's kind of what it smells like. Now my father would say something different, but he would say it. He would say, it smells like horse piss drained through a dirty sock. But you know, he tends to say outlandish things, and he doesn't drink beer anymore, anyways. But that is what he would say. But anyway, yeah, it definitely. I'm telling you what, it definitely has an Anheuser-Busch aroma note, and I do not think it had that note back in 1777. I just have a feeling it did not.
I definitely doubt it. And or maybe you are as well noticing the difference in what it was to what it is now.
I'm not sure though, because when I started drinking it almost 20 years ago, I wasn't really trying to put it in a framework. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't saying, where does this fit? I was just saying, you know, at that time I would just try all different kind of brands. You know, so I was just saying, let me try this. Oh, that's pretty good. Let me try this. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of like deep speculative contemplation of it. But thinking back, like I'm trying to like backtrack through my catalog of beers that I've had, it's reminding me of certain, and should it be reminding me of lagers? You know, like Budweiser or King Cobra. I don't think so, but
yeah, I say as mine's warming a little bit, coming up to room temperature a little bit more, I'm noticing some well, yeah, lagery-ish notes. I find getting grass in this, as I was in this, it's just odd to get a grass in a bitter for me, and some hay taste as well. It's a little bit odd, and for me it's crisp like a lager.
yeah,
it's quite a crisp finish. I'm noticing. Yes, bitter throughout, but it has got quite a crisp finish, which is a little bit odd to me.
Yeah, and I'm even picking up. Like, I'm thinking of brandy, like brandy or cream sherry. I don't mean it's overt, but it's covert. Like E&J brandy, you know, that's way more alcohol, right? But it just reminded me of E&J brandy or some other brandy or cream sherry or... It definitely smells like, and it's going to hit me after this video is over in about an hour. It smells exactly like a beer I've had before that has nothing to do with InBev or Anheuser-Busch, I don't think, but I've definitely smelled this before. It's even got a white grape, you know, like white grapes, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm at the bottom. I don't know. Well, I'll say this. Am I in love with this beer? I don't know about that, but it's interesting. You know, it's like it's not a one-note thing. It has different flavors and aromas coming through, which to me is saying something for it, right? It's not just Dullville.
It's got good. It's got a range of flavors. Whether they're the most highest quality and most complex flavors you get, I wouldn't say so, but it's got a good range of flavors, which always suggests that it is of a decent standard.
Right. So I'm gonna ask you for your final thought, and then I'm gonna give you my final thought. Your final thoughts on Bass Pale Ale.
I think I would say it's an okay bitter, but if you were to drink this, don't base English bitters upon this. I mean, there are some on its same level, some are marginally better, but there are some far better ones to go for. It's just interesting for me to read about the history and learn about what it would have been like before, and it would be nice to see what it tasted like before, to experience what perhaps my dad would have had back in those days. But it's not bad. It's okay, run-of-the-mill beer, I'll say.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. It's an okay beer. If the price was right, I could see buying a lot of it. If the price is high, I would not buy a lot of it. It's not the gold standard for English bitters, I do not think.
No,
but I think the main good thing about Bass, or the main positive attribute for Bass, would be someone who only drinks Bud Light or Miller Lite or Coors Light. If they want to, say, experiment a little bit in something a little more flavorful or exotic, so-called, this could be one to try, because it's not going to be too strong or too harsh. It's not going to chase them away from, you know what I mean, the exploration.
Yes, yeah.
I wouldn't give them John Courage Russian Imperial Stout as their first toe dip into the pool.
It's just something to kind of just get your foot in the door, so to speak, and onto, if you were to look at other things, it's just something just to start off with if you were going to go down there.
Right, you've been sitting in the baby pool and you've been enjoying it, but your friend's saying, why don't you try to come into the big people's pool? And they say, well, I'm scared, I might drown. Or just come into the shallow part. And this would be part of the shallow area of the pool, you know, so, you know, figure of speech. But anyway, I'm glad I got to try it. Would I buy it again anytime soon? I doubt it, but it's not a standby beer. I mean, I can buy other things that are comparable in flavor and aroma that would be a whole lot cheaper over here, so I would just buy those for something like I did today, eating some hot soup with some crackers and cheese and, you know, a few onions and little sausages in there. You know, it's I think you agree, it's sort of on the basic side, but there's nothing wrong with that. Those beers have their place, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely, definitely. As it's as you're saying, quite reasonably basic, but yeah, it does have its bonuses and a decent range of flavors. But yeah, just as I was saying, just to get your foot in the door, so to speak.
Right. If someone talked about how wonderful it is, I would ask myself, what are they talking about? On the other hand, if someone talked about how it was horrible and it was undrinkable and they would pour it down the drain and they would rather drink all these terrible things I might mention, then I would find that off the rails too. That, you know, it's not a drain pour, and it's not ultra gourmet either.
Kind of falls somewhere middle to lower end, I'd say. I mean,
you're saying it's lower middle class, okay? But it doesn't live on the streets. Okay, all right. Hey, it was interesting to look at. I appreciate you joining me. You had now, I want to say this, World. This was Harry's idea. He wanted to do videos together. He does some with people in England. And I said, yeah, let's do it. Because Stuart was having, and that's the guy that I do little talks with, he was having trouble finding it. And he said, I'm not going to go wear myself out looking for this beer. So I said, that's understandable, you know. And another problem Stuart and I are having is we're running out of beers that we can find in common. We've gone through so many brands that we've like basically run out. Like I'll say, Stuart, how about these 10 beers? I can't get it. I can't find it. I can't. Then he'll name a bunch, and I tell him I can't get those beers, Stuart. So we might, and you might agree. We might have to look at doing styles, just styles.
Yeah, I think I might have a similar problem to Stuart. I have looked at how many you've done together, and I just seen. I thought, yeah, I can get those beers very easily. I think for me, the ones that are the ones that America has are the beers of the ales that we have are the ones that I can get very, very easily, and you've probably covered most of them with Stuart. So yeah.
But I'm not opposed to revisiting beer brands, though.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not opposed to it either. I always now and again look back at a beer that I may have reviewed probably, I don't know, 100 beer reviews ago, and just because how my palate may have moved on a little bit, to re-review them. So I'd always be interested in doing something like that, perhaps that you've done with Stuart, or looking at something new, or even just going by styles, as you say.
Yeah, so I would say this: if you do find something that you want to look at, just let me know, and I'll probably almost always say, yeah, let's look at it. You know, Stuart and I did Budweiser. We did Heineken. We did Grolsch. Why would I be opposed to drinking those beers again? I liked them, so why would I mind, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't actually reviewed Heineken. I have reviewed Budweiser quite some time ago, actually. But Heineken I haven't done, for example. But yeah, I'd definitely be up for looking into something like that again.
Okay, well that's kind of exciting and good, and it's a good attitude to have that it doesn't always have to be I did it once, so I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
What's the purpose behind that? All right, well, thanks, folks. Y'all come on down to New Orleans, and y'all go on down to
Birmingham,
England, and the Midlands, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And we're in the South.